welcome to Monday Night Therapy. And boy, howdy, maybe we need it, maybe we don't, but we're facing USC this week. And joining us is Tim Prangley. And he's a USC guy, in case you can't figure that out. He's got really nice lighting, very professional looking stuff going on. What? Minnie's already looking at me like, what the hell are you doing?
Wow, he does. I actually have watched him before.
Yeah.
He has a good show.
I've never been able to figure out the best lighting. All right, USC. We're coming into USC week. Big news for Nebraska today. Nebraska has officially declared Dana Holgerson our offensive coordinator, and he will be calling plays. And Marcus Satterfield is apparently just going to be a tight end coach. And I think the other big news was that Dylan Raiola may practice tomorrow or may not because of his back injury. And do you think, well, both of you, Minnie and Tim, do you think that the whole Dylan Raiola thing, is this us screwing with USC because we need to win one more game this season, or is Dylan Raiola really maybe not going to play?
I'll let you answer, Tim.
Hey, look, I don't think there's any reason to let your opponent know who they're facing, to be honest with you. I don't know why, unless you're, the people that get upset are the gamblers, right? They're the ones that really want to know who's in the game. The rest of us, obviously the defensive coordinator at Danton Lynn would love to know who they're facing as the quarterback. But at the end of the day, what is there to be gained by releasing this? So it could be gamesmanship, and I don't, why give your opponent any information?
So USC comes into this game at 4-5, right? And Nebraska comes into this game at, what are we, Minnie? 5-4?
Yeah.
So this is like a look how subdued we are. We're all like
we're just on pins and
ahead of time. Tim, what did you think was going to happen when you came into the Big Ten? I'm guessing this wasn't it.
No, well, so I'm part of a network with Mark Rogers where it's really Big Ten centric. We were like the outliers over there on the West Coast, whatever, with the Oregon guys. And we used to have these conversations. What's it going to be? Are these Midwest Big Ten defenses that good, or are these, Pac-12 West Coast offenses that amazing? And we used to sit back and say, which one's going to give? Because we're going to find out. Oregon, USC, Washington, and UCLA are heading over to the Big Ten. What's going to give? And it's a shame that USC still hasn't figured out their offensive line yet, because then we would have actually been able to see what kind of is going on. But we've seen what Oregon is doing, it helps when you get a brain, when a brain cramp by the quarterback go and doesn't get down in time. That does help you. I'm sure Will wants that back. But I think they've moved the ball pretty well. I think USC going in, we thought that our defense would be improved. I'll be honest, I was never too terrified about the offenses in the Big Ten. Our scoring, we're down to 22 points a game, which is amazing for us over the past couple of years. But is that a product again of the offenses we're facing? We're not facing, Fafita and Jed Fish and Tetra McMillan down at Arizona. We're not playing, we don't play Oregon this year, and we didn't play that Washington Penix team. So, which is it? I think it's a little bit of both. I do. I just don't think USC's offensive line, they just can't figure it out. And, in the Big Ten, you can't have a weak offensive line.
No, you can't. So Miller Moss is gone?
No.
Oh, he's not gone.
No.
I thought he had entered the transfer portal.
No, that was it's so funny. That's how panicked some of the people in the USC space are. Some 8-year-old basically put it out there as a tweet, as a source, that he was in the transfer portal, etc. And then everyone ran with it. Even Athlon had it on one of their articles. It was pretty bad. But now Miller's a huge SC guy. He's a character guy. He's not happy. He removed all the SC stuff from his social media and stuff like that. So that might have kind of freaked some people out. But I wonder if that's just more for his mental health. This is a kid who grew up wanting to be a Trojan, like legitimately loved USC. His mom, I believe, went there and taught there. And so it's devastating. Here's the thing. People don't realize, yes, he got to start 10 games, right? The bowl game and then the first 9 games. But can you imagine growing up being a SC fan, not be able to play Notre Dame and UCLA at the end of the season. I mean, I bet you that's something he probably thought his whole life he was going to do, and it's been rough news for him. But no, he's still on the team. He's the backup. He has been benched, and he's obviously a very capable backup if called upon.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
now.
Tell us about Jaden Maiava.
Jaden Maiava, yeah, he played last year at UNLV. He was the.
I remember him.
Yeah, he did it up. I mean, the issue with him is not physical talent. This guy's 6'4", 240, can move. He had a great. I mean, yes, it was against Utah State, but he had a Caleb Williams-esque run where he literally was in the pocket, dipped into the stepped up, then dipped back out, rolled all the way around, and ran it in for a touchdown from about the 14-yard line. It was amazing. The knock on him, I've seen some footage, but I'll admit I have not sat down and watched copious hours on his UNLV because that offense compared to what he's doing here and in the Big Ten compared to the Mountain West, probably not going to learn too much about him. He's had, basically 8-9 months under Lincoln Riley in order to work on his craft. But the issue with him is just like any young man with a big arm, he's trying to fit some windows that probably should not be tested. And so he had some turnovers that probably ill-advised passes. And so we'll see. We'll see on Saturday if he's figured out those issues.
Now, is he a mobile quarterback? Because Nebraska has backup quarterbacks have kicked our ass over the last few years. You stick a backup quarterback in and we're all like even more depressed than we already are. And I suppose he's a dual threat guy. Yeah.
If you're going to need your defense end. If they do a mesh, a mesh read or a zone read, you're going to need to account for him because whereas Miller was, he didn't get enough credit for being just athletic enough to keep you honest. With Maiava, he's going to be a guy that if you don't account for him, he's not going to take it 4 to 8 yards. He could probably take it 40 to 50 yards down the field.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Everybody feels better now.
Yeah.
You got to make sure that you have your, you don't get ball hungry and you stay in your assignments. Cause he can hurt you. Yeah.
Well, the thing is that Nebraska fans will say, well, we always have problems with mobile quarterbacks. Well, everybody has problems with mobile quarterbacks. That's, why they're so sought after. So what overall, well, you know what, should we do some comments? We should do some comments.
Yes, we need to. Mm-hmm.
Do you want to put them up?
Oh, I'll do that. Sure.
You can do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's go with this one. Paul Dalen says, I heard Holgerson was going to beat UCLA with the time machine fueled by corn cobs, Dorothy lunch, and an apple pie. Dorothy. What is it? Dorothy
Lynch. He means Lynch. Dorothy Lynch.
The salad dressing and an apple pie from Union Orchard.
Okay.
He would have to be introduced to all of that. So I don't know. That's all like Lincoln stuff, Tim.
I'm lost completely.
Yeah. I am kind of too. Paul means Dorothy Lynch. Dorothy Lynch is a salad dressing that's in Nebraska, and it's a Nebraska. It's kind of like saying Runza. Okay, take another one.
And then, you threw me off because I was thinking, I know Lincoln, Nebraska. I was thinking Lincoln Riley. That's
when she said that. I was thinking Lincoln things too. And what the hell?
Yeah. All right. So Fred Sacco says, I also like how James. Oh, wait. This is about James. Question for Tim. Lincoln Riley is sitting on a very hot seat. How hot is it?
I'll give you about 80 to 90 million reasons why it's not that hot.
Okay.
Yeah. And they're dollar bills.
Yeah.
And Justin Mogi says,
million. Yeah.
Is that how much his buyout really is?
Well, I mean, he's in this is year 3, and estimates were like about 110 to 120 million. So, I mean, and a guaranteed. So on the math on that, yeah, that would. I mean, they would. That's what I'm trying to tell Trojan fans that are like getting really excited about this whole thing. 2 things I got to remember. One, and I'm not going to be an apologist. This is year 3, not year 1. But this is not a 1 year, 2 year, 3 year experiment. This is USC went all in with Lincoln Riley saying, okay, we're going to build our program around you. Not we're going to build the next 2 to 3 years, maybe 5 years, and then we'll No, they went all in. They just broke ground on just a massive infrastructure rebuild. It's a football only building, which is like the first time really SC's ever done that. We had the McKay Center, which was top notch, but you split it with all the other programs. This is the first time we have just for football, hundreds of millions of dollar facility. So USC is all in with Lincoln Riley. They're doing this thing. You got a lot of money now in the Big Ten.
Right.
It's not a quick fix, and it might take some while. It's going to take a while, obviously, to turn it around.
You guys,
go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. No, John, you ask.
Well, I mean, the fan base, everybody, Kirk Signetti has screwed up the entire world. You know what I mean? He really has.
Yeah.
He turned it around in a year. And then, everybody expects that. And I think when we look at Matt Rule, we lost to UCLA. They were 2-5. We didn't look well on offense. That's one of the reasons why our offensive coordinator is gone. I mean, we've had a couple games like that. I completely forgot where I was going. People are, the momentum was going like this. And then we hit Indiana and the momentum just completely blew up. And we played Ohio State well. We lose to UCLA. People are getting really to the point that, he should be fired. He should be gone. He's a used car salesman. I got that from somebody today. I think the thing is with all of where I'm going is this. You guys have a massive buyout. I think Matt Rule's is $80 million. We have the whole house settlement thing coming in where programs are going to figure out how much they're going to be paying their athletes. We can't none of these schools, even though they seem to have a lot of money coming in from the Big Ten, has like unlimited funds. And if we do have unlimited funds, we all want to pay athletes with it now. So, I mean, you guys bought in. Do you think that for the rest of college football, people are just flat out stuck with these coaches longer? Or what do you think is going to happen there?
I think it's a case.
Long way to get to a question.
No, you worded it properly. I like the way you phrased it. So, and also just remember, Lincoln Riley did himself no favors. Like, we're not too far away from 2021, which literally, in like 4 decades of seriously watching USC football, I'd never seen a defense as bad as the one I saw. People talk about how bad Alex Grinch was. Literally, Alex Grinch was an upgrade over 2021, and that just shows you how bad we were in 2021. We had the Oregon Beavers looking like the 95 Huskers running the ball on us in the Coliseum. That's what it looked like, and it should never look like that. You know what I mean? Unless it's the 95 Huskers. And you have a situation where people want instant gratification. That's just society now, right? So you got to turn around. And when he goes 11-1 the regular season, and really the one loss we had was up in Salt Lake against Utah on a last second 2-point conversion to win the game, expectations went through the roof. They just did. And this was going to be more than an instant fix. Obviously, that was helped by having Caleb Williams, generational quarterback, as our quarterback. That helped things out a lot. People don't realize you can fix a lot of things. Even defensive lines you can fix rapidly, but you cannot fix an offensive line rapidly. I don't know when these guys started watching football or what they think you can do with college football. But you cannot just throw about 5 really great players together like they tried to do last year at SC. They got some pretty decent players, but there was no chemistry. And we saw on the field what that's looked like. So, short story, sorry for going that long.
That's all right.
Fans need to really understand you need to build a program. And they point to, look at what Dan Lanning is doing. Dan Lanning walked into a situation where he had Phil Knight buying the best players on the West Coast for about 4 or 5 years before NIL. No, I'm sorry. Before the season when he got there. So, I mean, you got to compare apples.
Was that a Freudian slip there?
It was an intentional Freudian slip. I played off the Freudian slip.
Yeah,
they've always had a lot of money up. They've had a lot of money up there at Eugene for years. Let's put that. That's why when they came after Lincoln, Pete Carroll, there was no show cause. Chip Kelly got a show cause. Let's put it that way.
Okay. Tiger Shark Diver says we got to stop the USC quarterback. He was a 5-star and very good. Any comments on that?
Was he?
He was. I don't believe he was a 5-star.
I think that's what's going around Nebraska's fan.
Yeah,
base.
No, he was not a 5-star quarterback. He was at UNLV, guys. How many?
True.
I mean, listen, I'm not disparaging UNLV. They're the running rebels, all right, Mountain West, but usually 5-star quarterbacks are not going to UNLV unless you're what was his name, Randall Cunningham. But I mean, that's probably that goes past most people here. But I mean, that just doesn't happen. I think he is an outstanding quarterback. I would put anybody with Lincoln Riley and know they're going to get better. He has absolutely all the physical tools. Let's see what he's picked up in the 9 months he's been with Coach Riley. But no, he was not deemed. That doesn't mean anything. If you're talking to a guy that really doesn't put a lot of stock into these modern ratings, I think about 10 years ago, 6-7 years ago, it was a little bit better. I think now it's very political and very weird how these ratings go.
Well, there's so much money involved in every single thing, Trojan Blade says hello. He's another one of the USC guys out there.
What's up, Gabe?
You guys, what does USC do well on offense?
Yeah, that's a great question.
That's a good question this year. They run the ball well. It's just for some reason, for whatever reason, fill in the blank, they decide not to. They've got, yards per carry. They're 14th in the country. They're like, I think like 5.5, 5.4, range. But it just seems like, and it's been what fans have a pretty good gripe. A lot of the gripes against Lincoln Riley are a bit, what they are. But this one is legitimate. It just seems like he's gone away. They're about 60-40 pass run, right? You guys are like 55-45 pretty much pass run. But for me, it's like we have a great back. So we have a really good redshirt freshman running back in Quentin Joyner. Kids out of Texas, he's at, he looks a lot like a Nebraska running back, built like a Nebraska running back that I used to remember when I was younger. Just one cut, bam, through the hole. Don't try to arm tackle me, and I'm gonna house it. That kind of guy. And when he gets hit behind the line, he's gonna get back to the line of scrimmage or maybe a couple more yards. But he's not getting carries. And that's not bad because Woody Marks, who came over from Mississippi State, is an absolute stud. That guy is one of the more underrated running backs you're going to find in the country this year, without a doubt. He leads the country, I think, in consecutive receptions in a career. He's like well over north of 50. He's an all-purpose back, but he runs the ball very well. Great vision, and I have no problem with him getting all the carries. But if we translated maybe 10 more carries a game into Quentin Joyner, this is my crackpot theory. I think that we probably have half the losses that we have right now.
So if you combine the dual threat quarterback now with the running game, you should be that much better off.
They're running the ball well. And the other part of this is the offensive line. We still haven't figured out the problem in 3 years under Lincoln Riley on the right side of our line. I mean, even that 22 season, people like to say, and it was a very good line. They brought in Bobby Haskins, I believe from Virginia. I can't remember anymore. But as a grad transfer coming in through the portal. But the other guys have been together for just 4 years of snaps, 3 years of snaps, and they just were a unit. They were all really, really solid. Like Voorhees is that guy, if you guys remember, he's the one that blew his ACL out in the non-contact drill at the combine, and then went on to go lift the bench press. I mean, I don't know if you remember that story. And he basically lifted more than anybody with a ruptured ACL. So I mean, that's the kind of guy we had on our line. We don't have that. And what makes it worse is these are big guys that have just trouble with communication up front, you guys. And you see free runners, and you just see drive-ending sacks, right? Turnovers led by guys coming in, getting a hold of the quarterback. We lost the game that way. A guy came around on the outside, blew past our right tackle, hit his arm, flubs the ball, interception, pretty much game over from there. So why they're not running the ball is the biggest reason. If SC runs the ball against Washington, who was a great pass defense, like you guys saw that, right? But their run defense is suspect. Why are we throwing the ball 50 times on the road in the rain? So, I mean, these are the kind of questions that fans have legitimate gripes against Lincoln for. None of it makes sense, you guys. None of it. I don't know what. It's almost become like a meme of itself. The fact that Lincoln sometimes just refuses to run the ball. And it's hurt USC this year.
Well, if you asked me the same question, what does Nebraska do well on offense? I'd have to honestly answer nothing. And that's why the guy's gone. And what's going to be interesting to see is what can Dana Holgerson do with this offense in 2 weeks? And that's
Hey, you guys, I dug up some information.
Oh my God, she does this. She
I
digs
do.
up information. What information do you have, Minnie?
Dana Holgerson and Lincoln Riley coached
Texas Tech.
together at Texas Tech for years and years.
Yep. And coached
So-
against each other in the Big 12 for years, right? When he was, they know each other. Actually, he's talked about that. Yeah. There's that connection from Texas Tech and Mike Leach. Yeah.
This is like getting juicier and juicier. So, because Lincoln Riley is known as an offensive guy, well, and we just hired Dana Holgerson, and he's our new offensive coordinator. I think that's just like, I'm on pins and needles for this weekend.
So do you think their egos, Minnie, do you think their egos will require that they both throw the ball 60 times this upcoming game?
I think they will do anything and everything to win. I think it's going to be an offensive game for sure.
I know. I'm worried about. I think this game is, you guys, is going to come down to, like we just talked about, USC running the ball, and the one thing you guys are really good at, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. Is your run defense? Is that correct?
Yeah.
I mean, you guys like a top 20, top 15 run defense over there in Lincoln, and I think it's going to be. I think it'll be a difference in the game. I think if they can make USC one dimensional with a young Jaden Maiava, making him throw the ball, then there might be an issue there. But again, I do like the added aspect of having Jaden going in, like you just said, John. Having a mobile quarterbacks to give even really good defenses a hard time. You have to account for all 11, not just 10 guys. So I think that's really where we're going to see this game decided is who can oppose. Can USC run the ball when we're going to run it, and can you stop us when we're going to run the ball?
Roger Moore says God Holgerson option. I want to go with the Sesame Street song. Which of these things is not like the other? But it doesn't really fit there. I'm not sure if we're ever going to see option again at Nebraska. It's just not a. I see a lot of comments about this, since we had so much discussion and so much stuff online about Nebraska's offense. We need to go back to the option. We can't go back to the option. Nobody can go back to the option. The rules dictate that the option does not work as effectively as it did in the 90s. You can't cut block outside the tackle box. There's a lot of restrictions now on what you can do that took away a lot of the effectiveness of how we used to run that offense. So Roger Moore also asked, did OJ play for USC?
I heard that rumor. Yeah, I think that rumor's true. I can name up I could talk about another running back from Nebraska, but I'm not going there. We're just gonna let that one slide right out of the show. We're gonna let that one go. I'm a visitor here. I want to be respectful.
When is the last time you had an OJ reference?
Been a little while.
Yeah. Okay.
How long have you been a fan?
Since I grew up literally on the campus. My mom says my dad couldn't stop going to school. My dad he received 2 undergrad and 2 master's degrees from USC. So I grew up in student housing when my dad was his master's program.
Oh, that's awesome.
I have never been there. Which, I was going to ask earlier when you were talking about building a brand new football facility. I mean, is space limited?
Oh yeah.
Because you know what I mean? Everything you buy or everything you do, you either have to take out buildings like parking ramps, or you have to acquire real estate at just massive values. I mean, doesn't that makes it difficult for you guys to do better facilities, doesn't it? Over the long run?
They're building. So they had to knock down the, which was sad for me. Again, remember, since a little kid, I was going to USC's baseball back when I was a kid was just amazing. Like we were perennial power. And so I remember going to Dado Field, and they had to chop that thing down in order to make room for the facility. They're turning it 90 degrees or sliding it over. Part of that's for the Olympics too, because the Olympics will be in LA. So they're gonna have some diving and swimming events on the campus. But the big part of it is you got to rob Peter to pay Paul, and they're getting rid of part of. We had another really big practice field on one side, so they got rid of that. And you go to the campus really, and it is all changed because, like you said, you don't remember so many landmarks because the older buildings get knocked down, replaced by the bigger buildings because it's actually not. People call it South Central. It's not South Central. It's literally downtown Los Angeles. I mean, you could walk to Staples in less than like 40 minutes. From where the campus is. It's literally probably like 2 miles. So I mean,
we're gonna go back to football in a minute, but Minnie, you're going to this game.
Oh, I am. Yes, yeah. I can't wait.
You just now remembered?
No. I'm getting caught up in these comments over here. Can I show a couple?
Sure.
Because you mentioned it, Tim. You brought this on.
Uh-oh.
Husker Chuck says pay-per-view deceased Lawrence Phillips.
I don't want to do that. I did not say his name. It's a sad story. He's a California guy. It's just
Oh
my God. Okay.
And then TSD says Lawrence Phillips should be the out of OJ.
This is one thing on our live. This is the one thing on our live shows, Tim, is you never know when the hell they're going to go.
That's what it's all about, John.
You are going to USC, Minnie.
I am, and
there are going to be probably gobs of Nebraska fans out there because Nebraska fans. I mean, we live everywhere. Because I don't mean to say this rude, and I hope nobody in Nebraska takes us this way, but Nebraska, you kind of have to leave. You know what I mean? When I graduated in 1987, there weren't really many jobs in Nebraska for all the graduates. All of my friends went all over the nation. Tons of people went to California. Some went to LA to get into the movie industry and stuff like that. Let's talk about what people are going to experience out in USC.
And how early, because Nebraska fans like to get to the game early. How early should we get there? Because the game's at 1.
I want to remember the game is at 1, correct? 1 Pacific, right?
Yep.
I think they opened the parking lots up. I think it's been a while for me because I've been covering the games now, so it's different. I don't get to go to the tailgates anymore. But even then, I was lazy. I was that guy, I'll see you at your tailgate kind of guy. That was me. I'll bring some beer, but I'm not setting up tailgates. I'm not sure. Check the website for when they actually open up. I would guess probably around 7. Is my guess for a 1 o'clock. I think you can get into the parking lots at 7. Double check that. Don't take my word for it. But listen, I think John, the first time we talked, I told you about my favorite fans. My favorite fans are, because I've never been to Lincoln. My favorite fans are Irish fans in South Bend, not the internet, not in Los Angeles, in South Bend. My favorites. And then road people coming to visit, it's not even close. It's been Nebraska. Like the couple of times I've had I've been experienced Nebraska football fans. Knowledgeable, fun. You know what I mean? It just seems like they know their stuff. They really support their team. All the guys in their overalls and stuff. It was just like it was a great time. It was a great, it was really fun. What was that? 2006, I think. 2006. I guess someone correct me on that. It's a while now, but I'm looking forward to it, Minnie. I mean, Nebraska fans are great. That's a big part of going to the Big Ten that I was really excited about. Was going to some of these places. Like I went to the Big House. I was going to go to Minnesota. Thank God I didn't. I was going to go to Maryland. Thank God I didn't. But the going to the stadiums and going to yeah, sorry, my son doesn't realize that I'm in the middle of a show right now, and
that's okay.
He kind of came by. But the fans, getting fans coming to, the Penn State fans were great. I mean, I went to the Rose Bowl one time with them, and that was awesome. So I'm excited again to rekindle the whole Cornhusker Nation thing because you guys are great. You guys are great fans.
Are you credentialed?
Husker fans are just.
I am.
Oh.
Okay, so I
had to be there. I was like, I always go photo too because if I'm going to be at the Big House, I want to be on the field and take pictures.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you're a photographer.
Yeah, well, that's what I call myself. Yeah, yeah. Photographer. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you know what? I'll have a photographer on the field, actually, Stephen Bruce. So I used to, I don't do it anymore. My brain injury has gotten to the point my balance is crappy enough that I don't really belong on a field. I just, I could cause a problem calling too much attention to myself. Plus, it's a lot of work. And what I've figured out is that people don't appreciate photographs as much as they do me getting on my phone and swearing profanity into my phone for 10 minutes after a game reaction. So I don't think people realize how much work you're shooting. You're not carrying one of those big Canon 400s.
No, but I mean, but I have my 70-200, which is a lot bigger than this. I mean, and if you're carrying it for like the whole game, I mean, the lens is this big. It's a couple. I mean, it's not heavy weights, but you lugging that thing around and you're going sideline to sideline, because I have an upgrade. I actually just did get an extender for my lens so I could actually get a little farther. But when you don't have the right equipment, you got to move. You got to move between the 20s, outside the 20s to get that shot sometimes on the other side of the field. Yeah. So, but it's been fun. It's been a great experience. I mean, I love it. Yeah. And you get that one shot. The whole thing's worth it if you get one or two just really great shots. And you do usually every game get one or two great shots.
Okay. I got to put this up. Oh, sorry.
Okay, go ahead.
The other Dave says, I'm hearing 20,000 Nebraska fans at the game. Is that possible?
I don't know.
Yeah, so I'm so sorry, you guys. 20-year-old having girl problems, and I'm apparently.
Oh.
Yeah. So sorry.
Do you want us to help him?
Bring him on. We can definitely help him.
Yeah, he's got back. Remember, he's 20, and if I told that in front of one person, and now he knows I told at least one other person, so he just exit stage right. So he's out of here. I believe it. Like you just said, there's a lot of transplants. My mom and dad are both from Grand Rapids, Michigan. I mean, he came out to California. He says, "I love you, but I'm never going back." And they got married and stayed out here in California. But like you said, John, hate or like it, it's not for everybody, but a lot of people like LA, and there's a huge there's something called downtown Los Angeles, one of the largest hubs in the world. So there are going to be a lot of Nebraska like transplants here, and as we know, you guys, Big Red, you guys travel like an army. So I mean, you guys will be out in force as well. So I wouldn't be surprised to see 20,000. Yeah, that would be amazing.
All right, back to football. What does your defense do well? Since I asked about offense, and you guys, I'll let you answer that.
So what they
do have a good defense.
What they do well is until with the exception of a couple of games, and there were a couple of games where it was really questionable. And then I'm going to tell you that we really have been hammered by injuries.
Right.
We lost for significant periods of the season. We've lost the best guys at the first, second, and third level of our defense. It just happens. It happens in football, right? And so I'm not going to complain too much, but they're good tackling. That's the one thing. Dan Lynn, we brought in Matt Entz, who was the head coach at North Dakota State. He's our new linebacker coach. And just the technical aspect of it, I think a part of it is, I think Lincoln Rice said it best. It's not that they're tackling better. It's just Danton Lynn has them in position to make plays. And it's a lot easier if you're in the hole making a tackle than you're trying to do an open field tackle, right? So part of it's scheme, part of it's development, part of it's the upgrading players we have. So we have some pretty good players. I said earlier in the season, I'll take our starting 22 over anybody. I'm going to pull that back now because I've seen our offensive line and I saw some of the issues we've had. But I think when healthy, USC's defense, and when we are healthy, by the way, you guys, unfortunately, we're getting four. At one point, literally everybody except for one of our safeties in the secondary was out for about 2 or 3 games. That was rough. But they're all back. They're all supposed to be back for this game. So we tackle well. They're fundamentally sound, but they do not rush the passer. I think Dylan Raiola is going to have a huge game.
Well, that's a relief.
If he's the quarterback, because Justin Rogge asks, Tim, how does your defense play against mobile quarterbacks? Because we have Heinrich Harburg, who is, he's a big Studley guy, and he's a much more of a running quarterback than Dylan. And if they were going to put in like an option or a wildcat package, something like that, then that's what he would be running.
They had Alex Orji at Michigan, who's the closest thing I think of to a running quarterback that we pretty much faced the whole year. And he ran well in the first half because there was no film on it. But we literally shut them down. They didn't get a first down the whole second half until the final drive of the game, where we talking about fundamentals and good tackling. We just uncharacteristically blow 2 tackles, and I can't remember which one it was, but they run for like 65 yards to set up the winning touchdown. So I mean, that's what USC does. We find a way to lose. But I would say just running, just if we know you're running, if you bring in a package, have you used this package before? Would this be a new? Is there any film on this package if they're running the ball?
You know, there's probably some on him trying to run the option. I think. You know what? I'm really going to answer that question by saying, yeah, there's probably some film on what we've done, but I don't know if any of it is. Obviously, you can't have Dana Holgerson come in during a bye week and install a whole new offense in 2 weeks, right?
Sorry, I was reading your chat.
Yeah, you should. I was going to warn you.
I'm reading the chat. Fred got me.
Yeah,
Sorry, go ahead, John.
He gets everybody.
That's why I just many stars things, and those are the only ones I look at. Otherwise, I get sucked into a hole. I think there's probably film or on stuff, but I don't know how much is going to apply.
Okay.
I mean, if you look at like Dana Holgerson's, the whole Mike Leach, Hal Mummy kind of thing, they didn't run a lot of different plays typically. They just had some very basic, like 4 to 6, pass plays in the air raid, and they just ran them over and over and over and over and over, and then against different coverages, and that's what they did think.
Right.
And I don't. We have run some option. We've run some, quarterback keeper type stuff with Heinrich Harburg at the red zone. But here's the other good news for you. Our wide receivers don't block on the perimeter because, apparently it's not in their contracts. That's what my understanding is. Maybe for this week, somehow they will magically start blocking on the perimeter, and then all sorts of magic things will happen on offense. But
positive thinking, John.
Okay. Yeah. I'm old, and it's good. Everything's just getting harder to do. It's harder to get out of bed. I'm running into the very set. I noticed that this last week. I was very cynical about everything. And we'll go back to Paul Dallin, and we'll say yes. Paul is a vet, and he says pour one out for Huskers vets today. Go Big Red, go Army. I would guess his rank, but I'd get it wrong, and he'd be pissed off at me.
He said
Roger
he was
Moore
a
comes back.
major.
Roger, he was a major.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm glad. I probably would have said.
And I also starred one from Fred that said, "Anyone who's served, thank you for your service." And I just wanted to make sure we said that. Yeah, all of the military. Very nice.
Roger Moore comes back, apparently trying to make up for the OJ comment, and says USC solid uniforms. There you go. There's something.
I'm very biased, but I have to agree with you, Roger. Yes, that's definitely a good point.
Really?
Okay.
What? Okay, wait. You guys are you wearing all maroon this weekend?
We prefer cardinal, but yes, we're wearing the cardinal and gold of USC. Yeah. We don't change our uniforms. Our uniforms are the same at home, and now over the years have been subtle differences. Maybe some stripe here and there on the pants. Maybe you have some stripes versus the chevron now on the shoulder. The helmet got a little bit weird for a while, but everyone changes their helmets. But pretty much USC's been no names on the back and same uniform ever since since they started playing football. Really,
the other Dave has
that's wrong. That's not true. Since like the 20, so like the 50s and 40s. Sorry. That's not accurate.
The other Dave has a logistics question. 11 of us coming for the game and taking the kids to Disneyland, tailgate at Exposition Park. How early should we head to the stadium?
Well, you should get there about, and I would say a good at least 40 minutes before, because the Trojan marching band will do a show before the game. And then you can see them march in. I mean, I don't know how much you want to see of that. Obviously, there's warm-ups for your team, depending where you are, but I'd say about 40 minutes Exposition Park, literally, that's the cool thing about USC. It's not on campus, but it's adjacent to the campus. You cross the street, you go through a rose garden, bam, you're there.
Oh, so it's right next door.
Yeah, it's probably about a 10-minute walk from the edge of campus to the turnstiles. I
think the problem is whenever you think of LA, you think of sitting in traffic, no matter where you are.
Yeah.
Well, I've been all over the place. I'll tell you what, the traffic's overblown when it comes to like Chicago. It's not nearly as bad as Chicago. If you've ever been Chicago traffic, that is traffic.
I have not been there for a while. I've been on a lot of Dallas traffic, and that's not pleasant either. Remrack a while ago says we leveled up at Nebraska. We just hire more coaches now. That's the thing is we also brought in Phil Snow to look at the defense, but I think he might have already come in and left already. I'm not sure about that. Andrew Curtis.
He zoomed in.
Snow was
Andrew
the DC
Curtis.
with him, right? Wasn't he the DC over at Baylor with Rule? Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I'm going to say yes. Minnie knows all this stuff.
47 years as a defensive guy. I mean, he's brilliant.
47 years?
Yeah.
Wow.
He was with Rule?
No.
Okay.
He's been a coach for 47 years. So he's retired. We basically brought him out of retirement to analyze and help us.
Is that good or bad?
I think it's great. He knows his stuff. It's always good to have, somebody who knows their stuff looking to see if there's ways to improve.
Yeah, self-scouting. If you have someone with that much experience, just for that, just self-scouting might be a good idea. I'm sure he uses a lot more than that, though.
Andrew Curtis says, I'm super stoked about Holgerson. I wanted that to happen last February when it was reported he was being interviewed. And here's the thing. I think honestly, Matt Rule wanted to hire him last winter, but Holgerson still wanted to go out and get a head coaching job. So, maybe part of the deal for him coming in for this offensive coordinator position is that he has to stay a year to show what he can do. Then he can go get another head coaching head coaching position somewhere else. He
may just be a really good coordinator because, head coaching, he's had his issues, right? It did not end well in West Virginia. And West Virginia is not the easiest place to be a head coach, but they are behind their programs. It's not like he didn't get support. I just wonder, in the age of NIL, maybe that West Virginia is a step behind. But all my people, all like 4 or 5 people I know from West Virginia, they were not a Holgerson fan early, not at the very end, like midway through, they're like, oh, this is not working. So,
well, tell me more about that, because I thought he didn't get fired at West Virginia, right? He left West Virginia to go to Houston.
Yeah.
But it wasn't, they were, well, I can't remember their records, but they were.
Did they come to him and say, listen, buddy, here's the deal. You can be fired or you can leave and go to Houston. Because, I would think that would be like going to hell.
Yeah. Would you say going from West Virginia to Houston is a downshift, right? It's not, right?
Yeah. Plus you get to live in Houston.
True.
He talked about that. He talked about that. He said sometimes you have to make, an adjustment, and it may not seem like it's an improvement in your position, but you do that so that you have the opportunity to move up.
And that could just be a very diplomatic way of saying that maybe it was not a good culture fit. And because West Virginia is West Virginia, so it's not, maybe he's not a West Virginia guy, right?
True.
That's true. Paul Dalen asks, we need to get to special teams at some point before we're done. Paul Dalen asks, is USC a public university? How many students?
Oh, wow. It is a private university, and I have the student loans to still prove it for my master's.
You have a master's?
I don't know the numbers. I think it was 20,000. I think undergrad. I could be wrong on that. But I do like that, USC selectivity is up there at like about 11-12%. So it's pretty. So when I say that, I would not have been able to get in USC undergrad these days. when I got in, a little while ago, I was able to get because the standards weren't as high, but it's pretty hard to get into these days.
Well, you were half right. The student population is 49,500 as of 2022. So it's a fairly large university.
But is that grad too? Is that graduate? That has to include graduate students. That can't all be undergrad.
Probably.
Yeah.
But I can't imagine that there's, it's probably 30,000, 10,000 maybe.
Yeah, it probably has grown. Yeah, I'm going off of like numbers probably from 10 years ago. So you're right. I would be surprised though if they're at 30,000 undergrad, but it could very well be.
If you were a public university, you'd have to share money with Cal.
No. Well, yeah, it's true. Calimony, like poor UCLA. That's true.
Okay.
Yeah, we're glad we're not a UC system. Let's put it that way. We're very happy to be our own. We're not doing that whole California UC thing at all. So John, if we could believe John Jacobs, he says 21,023 is undergraduate population. That sounds about right. That sounds right.
Really?
Yeah.
That means you have a bigger graduate population?
There are tons of grad schools at USC. Yeah.
That's what everybody goes there for.
The film school. What'd you get a master's in, Tim?
I'm a teacher. I'm a special education teacher. So I got my master's in teaching.
So you have patience.
Yeah. For students, not for adults.
Paul Dalen says Nebraska University is like 21K total. I think it's around 25 or 24. I don't know. But okay. Why wouldn't you go to Stanford, Charles Hullett? I accidentally clicked on that.
Oh, I know the answer here. It wouldn't be for my career opportunities because that would be the place to go. But I wouldn't go there because of that stupid band. That's not even a band. Do you know we had the Tree on? We did an interview with him years ago, like 2-3 years ago on the channel.
Yeah.
And for the Stanford Tree. The band is wretched, and you don't have to play an instrument. Like that's probably why they'll never get to the Big Ten because don't you have to have a really good band in order to be in the Big Ten pretty much?
Yeah.
So that's why Stanford will never get in.
It's because of the band.
You guys really hate the band.
Oh, they are wretched.
That is so weird.
They were not allowed to go to one of the schools because one person in the band during one of their shows urinated on the field. I mean, we're talking about future presidents and CEOs of major corporations. They go to Stanford for a couple of years and lose themselves. I don't know what's going on there, but yeah, these people are out there, you guys. Like you think the LA people are wackos? No, go up to the Bay Area. That's where they are. We send them all up there because that's where all the real tree hugging weirdos goes up there.
I am honestly very glad that Stanford and Cal didn't come into the Big Ten because I don't think they give a damn about football. And you mentioned the band. I think Stanford's got some things good that are going on, but just the bullshit. Anyway.
Yeah, you
all right.
It.
Back to football for a minute. Special teams. How are your special teams?
So our punter, Chapliki, this kid is we acquired him through the transfer portal from Arizona State, and this kid is like a Ray Guy kid. I don't know if he's got the punts to qualify or what his actual numbers are at right now, but he hang time and inside the 20, he really does it all. He really booms the ball. Solid at flipping the field. Kicking. We'll come back to kicking. The kick return game was crazy. We had a guy named Zachariah Branch who came from Bishop Gorman, Vegas. He was an All-American returner last year, and he was electric. I mean, he ran one back for a touchdown and just, the whole 9 yards. Punt, kick returns, just electric. But something happened in the offseason. Speaking of Gabe in the chat, we were talking about we don't know if he put on some extra size, some extra muscle, whatever, or whatever it might be, but he just seems like he's lost a step. He was that guy. He was like that kind of like the guy you couldn't tackle in a phone booth. You know what I mean? And he has true track speed. For whatever reason, that went away. But then you have Makai Lemon. And Makai Lemon, who's a guy I know, actually went to the high school right up the street from me. He maybe not as flashy, but in the last 2 games, he's just shown he returned one like 65 yards, and setting up a scoring touchdown when the offense was kind of stagnant. He really is. He's a special kind of guy, and it's good to see him getting a shot because why we don't know. But Zachariah Branch went from All-American as a freshman to like non-existent, and I don't mean freshman All-American. I mean he was an All-American, which is crazy. So there's that, and then kicking. Michael Lance, he came over from Georgia Southern. He's been hit and miss, but it's kind of like Miller Moss. Miller Moss hasn't thrown an insane amount of interceptions. I mean, 9's a lot in 9 games, right, but not an insane amount of interceptions, but it's the timing. It's the same thing with Michael Lance. Missing a field goal in the first quarter, not always, but missing one late in the third quarter or whatever, it can come back to hurt you. But it just seems like he's missed when we need him. I guess that's the best way to say it. So it's not the true actual number of misses, but he just picks them. You know what I mean? He just picks the wrong time. When your offense needs a boost, you have him move the ball, you get the ball in the field goal range, and it's just like a buzzkill. You know what I mean? And that's happened a couple of times this year.
Minnie,
yeah.
Say nice things about our special teams without mentioning our punter.
I mean, we're trying all kinds of things out. we're experimental.
That bad.
Yeah, it's not good, man. I mean, put it this way. Kickoff returns, they insist on returning the kickoff returns when you can just fair catch the ball and get it to the 25. I don't know how many yards we've cost ourselves this season by doing that. Punt returns, we really don't mostly attempt punt returns. We attempt to field the ball, and that's about the extent of it most of the time. Field goals, the beginning of the season was just an absolute disaster of getting field goals blocked, missing field goals. The snaps were all over the place. The field goal team, our field goal kicker did hit 2 against Ohio State, including one at 54 yards, which everybody missed the next 5 minutes of the game because they were falling on the floor and gasping and things like that. And then it comes to our punter, and our punter, you know what, maybe like for part of a sideshow or like a side bet thing, our 2 punters could go against each other because
that would be awesome.
Our punter is Brian Buschini, who we call Boom Sheeny. And he is like everything. He booms punts. He makes tackles on special teams. He's, faked the punt against, was it Rutgers? Yeah, Rutgers. And picked up a bunch of yards that we used to win that game. But blocked punts, we've had punts blocked. We haven't mentioned our special teams coach being fired because the special teams went from completely middle school football to at least not completely terrible. So everybody's forgotten about it. But the special teams is they're special. I don't know what's, the neat thing about it is all of Nebraska, except for the defense, is like, what the hell's going to happen next? We're still in that mode, and it's going to be, I have a rotten son who lives in my house, and I call him my rotten son because I live in Minnesota. He graduated from the University of Minnesota, and when we watch games, he abuses me most of the time, unless he not recognizes that it's completely terrible. Then he just mostly gets up and goes away because he knows that I'll probably kill him or something. But he will text me, he will say things to me, and his comment about our team is, I love watching Nebraska football because it's absolute cinema. The drama that goes into it, whether or not we're going to make kicks, whether or not we're going to screw up at the end of the games and lose 1-score games again. So I think before we didn't mention this during the show, but before the show, we both said that this is like a mental health game. It's really, whoever wins this is going to be Well, Nebraska will get to a bowl game. Yeah, what's at stake for USC? Do you think?
Yeah, I think this is really a game for USC to get to a bowl game, because you saw UCLA, they were kind of a joke, but they hit. They're physical. I mean, that team's not going to give you many. As much as we made fun of, we love to make fun of the Bruins, but that I don't think two physical games against UCLA. Well, Nebraska's defense, then UCLA, and then Notre Dame. We dropped this one. I'm not going to bank on winning the last two games. I mean, it's going to take 4 quarters of the best ball we have probably to beat Notre Dame as it is. So USC really does need this game in a bad way to get bowl eligible. It was crazy to me if you told me that at the beginning of the season.
Same.
Yeah.
Well,
I thought
we're going
for
to bring
sure
that
we'd be
up.
there by now.
Star Trek Elysium. That's kind of an odd name, I think. I remember last year when USC fans were talking so much trash about the Big Ten, and now it's funny they suck so bad. LOL.
See, here's what I will say. And by the way, fair, true. This was one of them. And the arrogance came from, again, I don't know how old Star Trek is, but I mean, in my lifetime, and I'm not 25, 30 years old, in my lifetime, we've done pretty well when we played the Big Ten. I'm just being honest, I mean, so I wasn't one of these SC fans that were going to roll in and just win the conference and laugh at everybody. But I didn't think that they would struggle. Of course, I thought after 3 years they'd fix their offensive line. So there you go. But yeah, a lot of fans are just kind of like, I don't think so, though. I mean, I don't think that's typical of all USC fans. Remember, you guys, like I said about Notre Dame in South Bend, great, awesome, hospitable, knowledgeable, amazing fans. On the internet is what it is. It's a cesspool, really. You got to sift through so much crap to get to like maybe 1 or 2 really interesting comments on Twitter. It just is what it is. So I think USC eventually will. I'm going to bring some arrogance out. I think that, if USC figures out their NIL, I think USC will be in that top, whatever you want to call tier of the Big Ten. I do. I don't think SC is going to be I just don't think that they're going to be in, because they're in Southern California. I think Lincoln Riley, as much as you want to crap out Lincoln Riley, he's always going to have an elite quarterback. And the one thing that I thought was, okay, so Lincoln Riley, we can count on these guys scoring 30 points. Maybe we're and I, by the way, I guessed 22 points per game in our preseason. What will we go from 30? I said down to 22. Everyone thought it was crazy. At this point, we're at 22.2. And I figured, okay, so average 34 points a game, give about 22 points a game. We're going to win 9 games. I said we're going to go 9-3 this year. I had no idea the way we're losing, you guys. So yes, USC is now 4-5, but we haven't lost a game by more than a touchdown. Most of them 2-3 points in our losses. And I think 4 of them have been on like last play or last drive of the game. So it's not like USC is that far away from being, respectable.
We've said this for years, though. We did. Oh my God! Do you know how many 1-score games we've lost?
No, I remember the meme. You guys were
700 million.
Yeah, I get you. All those close Nebraska games. I get it, but I don't know.
The worst game that they've lost, John, and I would die for this. The worst game they've lost is by 7. That's it.
You guys didn't play Indiana, did you?
Didn't play Indiana. Didn't play Ohio State. Didn't play Oregon, but we played Penn State. We played Penn State. We played Penn State. Other than that, we the losses were.
You know what? You played Michigan, right?
In Michigan, and like I said, they rolled out orgy on us, and they really ran the ball. I mean, I think they had 200 yards in the first half running the ball, and SC couldn't stop them. But good coaching staffs make adjustments, and they literally shut them out in the second half. And USC dug out. I mean, think about it. They had to go 90 yards with about 2 minutes left. If you're in Vegas, you know what the odds on that would be, that offense, who hadn't moved the ball the entire half, was going to go 90 yards on the ground in like 2 minutes? It was like next to nothing. Well, they did. And here we are at 4-5.
Kalen DeBoss says, how did USC beat LSU? Well, I think that number one, that was before a bunch of injuries. And number two, I don't know if LSU is that good.
Both are correct.
Yeah. Who was it? LSU and Bama this weekend?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Jalen Monroe ran for
Mhm.
4 TDs, 190 yards, had one that was 72 yards, I think he took off on. But what struck me during that game was Brian Kelly constantly looking off into the distance like God was going to appear and help him out. So, you know what I mean? I don't know if he was praying or wondering, why did I leave Notre Dame? You know, what the hell the deal was. But yeah, I don't think LSU is that good. But USC did beat them early in the season.
And it was with USC. Again, we knew the SC would have a problem with depth. USC needed to get 2 interior defensive linemen just badly. Needed 2, like Harmon that went up to Oregon. That would have been amazing. But not only are we pulling a guy Rakes who left after spring ball, but then Bear Alexander after game 3 decides I'm quitting on the team. I mean, it's been a disaster on the defensive interior for USC. That's the big difference. The big difference is depth on the defensive interior is why we're not the team we were against LSU.
So go back to that guy. Who was it? The defensive tackle. Yeah. What was the story with that? I think he had left teams before, hadn't he? But then he suddenly just said in the middle of the season, I'm going into the portal. Goodbye.
Yeah. He had been to like 5 different high schools. And I got my buddy LV. He told me he's from the Dallas area. He had a connection in the Dallas area. He said, this guy's trouble. That's why he's leaving Georgia. And I'm like, yeah, sure. Okay. Yeah. Right. No. And yeah, sure enough, he wasn't getting, see, here's the thing. He wasn't getting starting reps. He was getting like maybe 20, snaps a game, and he wasn't happy. And the thing was, he wasn't performing at practice, and he's the highest paid guy at NIL. So now you have this situation where you're the head coach. You got a guy that's dogging it at practice because he's got a huge NIL contract. All these other guys are looking saying, hey, he's not running hard. He's not practicing hard. And so he was not getting game reps. And then he finally said, his dad made ultimatums, his stepdad, or I don't know, his handler. And then they left. You know,
Wow.
modern football.
Yeah, it is. I think that's going to be a problem. Joe Lalikis says SC is going to hire Reggie Bush to run the NIL program. Is that a silly comment, or is that a real comment? I
don't know. I think he got like a 1989 Impala and about like $1,200 all in, and his parents got like a free housing rent for probably about $15,000. So I mean, if he's running it, we're not going to do very well because he didn't get a whole lot.
Back in the day, you mean?
Back yeah. But
yeah. Now.
This is the thing. Well, no, Reggie Bush is not going to run. I thought it was a joke. I'm pretty sure that was a joke. That can't be serious.
I hope so. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. No, but back in the day, remember one thing, and it is true. It is what pisses USC fans off the most. It was not a booster. It was a marketing agent that paid him and his family. It's totally legal now. It was illegal back then, and it was 100 miles away from USC campus, and they just stuck it to USC. They really did.
I hate that. I hate that for him. I really do.
Really?
I don't know. Not him. It's the other 84 guys that lost everything they lost because of it.
No,
the worst part is the 30 scholarships. There were 30 kids that could have gone to USC, probably grew up wanting to go to USC. 10 scholarships a year. We're down to 15 scholarships a year for 3 years. They tried to crush USC. Well, they did. They really did for the better part of 15 years.
All right. Do we have anything else about the game or about USC football that we need to cover?
Yeah. Okay. So Cliff Kingsbury was there last year, right?
Mm-hmm.
He was like
He was like a quarterback. He was like an analyst. Like he helped with the quarterbacks. He helped with Caleb. Right?
Okay. I'm sorry. Say that again.
Cliff Kingsbury was there last year, and he worked primarily with the quarterbacks and he was an analyst. Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, it seems like he's had quite an influence on Lincoln Riley. And I'm just wondering, like, has that translated to this year? How has that translated? And Caleb Williams.
Yeah, I think that well, how it translated with, I think Riley and, I mean, they were peers really. I mean, I think they're both kind of just, offensive gurus, kind of that same tree, Right. We got there's like 3 levels. I think you can decide which one is it, Cliff or is it the Riley, and then you have Graham Harrell as the poor man's Riley,
Right.
or I mean, it's, let's call it how it is. But they're all great offensive minds. They're all great with quarterbacks for sure. And their absence, I think it has definitely been felt. I think, I bet you having, they have Luke Heward, who's Brock Heward, the Heward family, right? He's been kind of took over the roles of quarterbacks coach, but really it's been Lincoln Riley. It's just more of a title thing. But there's no way you could lose someone the level of Cliff Kingsbury and not feel the hit. One thing we talked about with that is not necessarily they're still running Lincoln's offense, but imagine having a guy of that offensive talent being able to say, hey, have you thought about, just little adjustments, little points. Yeah. And again, like I talked earlier, self-scouting, hey, I'm looking and watching this and et cetera. I'm sure there's a huge drop off because of that. Yeah.
Yeah. So our quarterback, Dylan Raiola, used to live here in Arizona, and he would go to USC and practice all the time with Lincoln Riley. So this is going to be an interesting game. I mean, the plot thickens. I'm so excited about this.
Yeah.
You're like getting into all these like reality TV show storylines.
I think that, there's no doubt that USC was more than just kicking the tires, would love to, but there's always that connection, with the Raiola family that it's like, it was probably going to be an uphill battle to get away from Nebraska. But that's what I meant earlier about Lincoln Riley and why people don't need to bail out, because I'm just saying, the most important position in football is the quarterback.
Right.
And if Dylan didn't have that special relationship with Lincoln, maybe he'd be with Lincoln, if you know what I mean. So, that's always going to put USC in a position to win championships.
Right.
So that's what I would say about it, is that USC with Lincoln's always got to have a top quarterback.
Now
I say that because he struck out on DJ Lagway, which would have, man, if you saw how he played, imagine DJ Lagway on this team. Now we're talking probably a whole different script. And then the year before, he kind of struck out with Malachi Nelson, who was a guy from California, 5-star, can't miss quarterback, hurts his shoulder at the end of the season and was just never the same. Now he's backing up at Boise State. So I say that we won't miss on quarterbacks, but there you go. That's 2 years in a row. And if Juju Lewis, it really looks like Juju Lewis is going to Colorado, that would actually be 3 years in a row where Lincoln Riley did not get his guy, which is going against the narrative, which makes this Trojan fan very nervous.
Is that because of NIL, do you think?
No, I think he wanted Garrett. Well, people that I believe, I trust, he wanted assurances he's starting. That's the way these kids go. Because remember, and I guess, yes, so in a roundabout way, John, it is NIL because you need to be on the field, not necessarily if you're a Manning, but in general, you need to be on the field, making plays in order to extend and get those big deals, right? People don't realize that. Like Caleb Williams is making north of $10 million, and it wasn't the traditional $10 million. Well, I call it traditional now, where like you have Ohio State paying millions and millions of dollars. They were legitimate deals. And so there are legitimate NIL deals out there, but in order to get those, you got to be winning Heisman trophies. You know what I mean? Right. And so that's what people want to do. They want to get on the field as a freshman.
Who was the guy that just recently they were talking about paying $10 million to a guy to go to Michigan? I can't remember the guy's name.
The quarterback from Underwood. He's committed to LSU right now.
I think so, something like that.
The 25 class is Underwood. Yeah, number one quarterback. He's from Michigan.
How much? 10 million?
That was the things that I saw.
Yeah, the guy. What's that? What's the big?
I was shocked when Matt Rule told the world that quarterbacks were getting like 1 to 2 million in NIL. Now we're talking about 10 million. Is that a year?
I think the top ones are getting north of 3. I bet.
Oh my gosh.
Well, you think about it right now. You look at Michigan. Okay, they're the winningest program of all time. They have wealthy alums. Barstool Dave has said that he'll contribute $3-4 million a year or something. Yeah. Dave Portnoy. So you have I think that people underestimate the ego of people that are alums and the level at which they operate and how much they're willing to stick their egos in and just say, well, I have this money, so let's just give it to them. And I guess I looked at that. I looked at that for the first time and I thought $10 million a year for a guy that's just going to come and pay. This is ridiculous. I got the old man part of me together and we all went, changes in football. It was terrible. And then I thought, we pay them when they jump from college to the NFL. The Deshaun Watson contract was idiotic. When you jump from college to the NFL, these contracts are idiotic. So I guess we're just going down one level and we're going to look at high school kids and say, well, here's shit tons of money to. But you're right. They do need to be on the field and playing football in order to, keep.
Bite your tongue. I hope we don't start going there with high school kids.
Well, they have NIL deals. Some states have it legal for high school kids. One of them's California, and my alma mater is Bosco, right up the road here. And
really?
And they have a Nike deal. The whole team, and as an NIL deal with Nike. By the way, DJ Uyunglele, not DJ, sorry, Mateo Uyunglele, one of the best defensive linemen a couple of years ago. Guess where he went to school? Oregon.
Awesome. Oh.
NIL deal, Nike. Right. But anyway, it's just stuff like that. Yeah.
All right. We're going to finish up soon. I think that what'll happen with this is we're going to still experience the Wild West for the next few years. And then I don't know, maybe it'll settle down. Maybe guys with really tons of money will say, you know what, I need to see some proof before I just throw money at a kid coming out of high school, or, maybe since we have a new Congress, they'll actually pass a law where they do different stuff than they're doing now. Who knows?
That'd be good.
What the future holds. Now, see, you're getting that. Now you're becoming an old person. They shouldn't be paid thing, aren't you, Minnie?
No, absolutely not. Pay them, please pay them. But 10 million?
Yeah,
there should be a cap. I mean, I just have to say it because the goal of college is to get them educated so that they actually have something after football.
Well, I don't know. You give me $3 million, and I could put that in a tax-free municipal bond. It's probably going to be. I'll be living off. Go play in the Canadian Football League and have some fun for about 5 or 6 years and then to retire.
Tim, you could, but I mean, seriously, money's like water to these kids. So, I mean, it's just, it's a whole thing. But, I wanted to touch on something because I noticed that you guys have a new defensive coordinator, D'Anton Lynn.
Mm-hmm.
And you got him from UCLA.
Yep.
He had the number 1 rushing defense last year and number 2 in rushing yards. So how is he panning out for you guys?
Not as well, but well. I mean, compared to where we were, it was just strange because you can't sit here and say that the roster at UCLA is like something great. So that's not the thing. But there is a thing about personnel, right? I mean, having veteran personnel. I don't think people understand that having a roster full of freshmen and sophomores and, redshirt sophomores and these guys, they're just so a bunch of USC people wanted Jide Abasiri to play. He's 6'4", 290 pounds, right? But he doesn't have that. He doesn't have that. Like, what do I call it? I call it man strength. Really, I mean, these are young men, but like a 5th year senior on the other side who's been lifting in college and has had the training table and is built and has gone through all those summers and falls. It's a different level of strength. And the problem at USC is they have some young talent that's very, very good. Mm-hmm. And like I said, we struck out in the middle. And what's the fastest line to first down? Right up the middle. And it's been a struggle. 3rd and short, another big thing. Keep the chains moving. If you can't stop them on 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, which we were able. By the way, I was amazing. 4th downs, it's like, why are you even trying it? USC was having some great stops early this season, and you could tell your son John that we did stop. That was a fumble on the goal line. That was a fumble. But I mean, USC it just was thin in the interior, and they're trying to put young guys in there, and it's just not working out.
All right. Do we have anything else, Minnie? Do we want to make any kind of predictions?
I think we should. Tim
really?
Tim looks like he knows what he's talking about. I want to hear his score prediction.
Oh, I fooled you,
because you said you were like saying that it was 22, and you were.
I would just say for the season, USC was holding offenses to 22 points per game.
Right.
And I think that. So you want me a score prediction?
Yeah.
I haven't even thought. I'm dead serious. I haven't even thought about it. I know the line's at 9.5, which is absolutely ridiculous. Throw that out. By the way, you guys take that 9.5. SC is not going to cover that. It's not going to. It won't happen.
Really?
Yeah, I think.
So before you say your prediction, basically what this comes down to is these are two teams whose nightmarish scenario is a one-score game, and we're looking at the likelihood of a one-score game.
Yeah,
which both of us typically are losing.
But I'm hoping for what, John. And we got to win eventually, right? But the problem is, which one of us?
We've said that for a long time now, and it just keeps happening.
I know. It's almost like you probably felt this for years. It was like you get to that beginning of the fourth quarter, you look at the scoreboard, you go, okay. Then you get about halfway through the fourth quarter, you look at the scoreboard, and you're like, we're gonna lose, aren't we? It's like we're gonna find. It's not as much that they don't. Sorry, it's not as much they find a way to lose. It's like they can't find a way to win. I know it seems like I'm being that's semantics, but it's really not. Like it just seems like they have the opportunity to win the game, and they just don't know. And maybe it's because they're a bit of a younger team, right? At many positions. Mm-hmm. But there's also on the defense, we are senior laden on the defense side of the ball. So
are we.
It's hard to give too many excuses, but it just doesn't seem like these guys, which I thought with a Matt Entz coming in with all those, all the national championships he's won at the FCS level, and be a part of that great North Dakota State even before he was a head coach, that program. I thought he'd bring in all that. It really just has not shown up that dig your heels in. This could be a fourth quarter battle for who wants it more. We want it more. We're going to win. If that hasn't happened, and it's been disheartening every single time. Every time.
Okay. Highlander Gun says 5-3 Nebraska. Thuzero says 34-22 Bug Eaters. Louis Brazil says USC will have a great day running the ball. Linda Wilkins says hit the like button, boys. Thank you.
Yes.
Linda. Let's see. Fred Sacco, Nebraska 21, USC 13. Beetle B says I never bet on the Huskers. I think you'd have to have a lot of what? Really?
I have. Yes. I have $100 that I bet whenever I'm feeling like kind of good about the Huskers. I just
and how many of these do you win?
I've won every time.
What?
Yeah. Every time I've bet. Yeah. So
all right, Minnie, please don't.
Well, what are you doing this weekend, Minnie?
I don't know yet.
To Vegas.
You're one of those people that the last minute it has to be a spur of the moment thing.
Yeah, actually, I wake up that morning. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Linda Wilkins says 28-17 Nebraska. Boy, these people, I'll be honest with you, they have a lot more faith in things than I do. I
like that.
I'm at a very low point right now into Nebraska football. Louis Brazil says USC wins big. Roger Moore, Nebraska is 17, USC 16. Pit Snipe Husker says 48-46 Nebraska. Oh my God.
That's not happening.
What are the chances of us scoring?
I think he's trying to, this is not the Holiday Bowl. This is not the 2014 Holiday Bowl where it's not going to be in the 40s for both teams.
Hey, two air raid buddies duking it out through the air. Who knows? Burnt World, 31-20 Bug Eaters. And Fred Sacco says, Reeves, we can barely hit 28. Yeah, okay, there's more of these. Justin Rogge, 28-24. That's a good score.
That's probably more like it, don't you think, Tim?
Yeah, 20 Sarah, in the 20s. for
Yeah.
both teams.
That's actually that's a good score. I think who was it had 16? That's a lot of field goals.
Okay. If this game is down to like the last minute and 30, one team has to drive 80 yards and make a game-winning field goal, like with time running out, who's going to do that?
Ooh.
Yeah, see, Minnie's weeping inside thinking about it.
You know what's weird is if Miller, this is dead serious. I'm pretty optimistic about our offense this week. But in that scenario, I would want Miller Moss as the quarterback, because he's gotten USC down to like just look at the last game against Washington and look at the LSU game. I mean, he's been the guy to do those kind of things. But I'm gonna go with Jaden, because I think the SC would be the guy to win that one, because I do think I have more confidence in our offense than I do in Nebraska's offense.
Well,
Guess what?
I'm just being honest.
That's probably I have more confidence in USC's offense than I do in Nebraska's offense, which is why we have a new offensive coordinator. Okay. Well, Trojan Blade comes in with USC 24, Nebraska 23. And then we're going to finish with Beetleby.
Our defense,
because I don't think we actually have a winning team. We are so beat up by this stuff. Nebraska fans, we are so beat up that it's amazing. I think we're going to be done. Do you want to give a score prediction?
Me?
Yeah.
Go ahead, man. You go first.
Okay. I'm going to go with 17 USC and 24 Nebraska. Why not?
That's crazy, because that was my original score, but reversed. But I came off it when I thought that I think it's going to be 24-20 USC.
I'll go with 23-21 Nebraska. 3 touchdowns and 1 safety.
Oh.
Okay.
We're feeling confident.
Could happen.
I think we're gonna be done, because it's getting long for me and I'm old and getting tired. And I'm getting old and tired, whatever that thing is. All right. I don't have a great outro for this, so I usually just say good night. Good night, Tim. Good night, Minnie.
Thank you guys for having me.
Good night. Thanks, Tim.